At the place where the Pacific, Philippine, and Eurasian plates grind together, the islands of Japan have formed, home to 1/10 of the world's 800 volcanoes. Just off the southernmost large island sits Sakurajima, named after the cherry blossoms that, in legend, floated here, forming a place that still invokes gentle femininity. The sacred hot springs on its shores are a place for peace and contemplation. But the heat within this island can also inspire dread. Sakurajima is one of the most active volcanoes in the world, erupting constantly since 1955. This spectacle is witnessed regularly by those who live on the volcano itself and from Kagoshima, a city of over 500,000. Its citizens never tire of watching their volcano, a famous landmark in Japan, whose ferry boats are marked with its symbol. An eruption in the 15th century lasted 4 years. A series of blasts in the 1700s killed scores of people. Then the mountain quieted down until 1914.
What a roaring sound there was, as if the thunder god had suddenly made several strikes at once.
Seikichi Takenoshita and his sister were children when the mountain they lived on erupted, and everyone made a panicked run for the sea.
I can still hear the horrible sound in my ears.
In 2 weeks, over 3 billion tons of lava pushed toward the sea, destroying Takenoshita-san's village and connecting the island to the mainland. The ash was said to have covered heaven and earth. Today, ash is still a problem, especially when the winds push dark clouds toward the city. For Kagoshima commuters, ashfall mornings mean a dreadful, dirty drive to work.
If I could, I'd get rid of Sakurajima. It's okay for tourists, but for people who live here, it's a major nuisance.
Pedestrian protection comes from umbrellas that pop open on rainless days. And for the fastidious Japanese, it's a challenge to stay neat during the commute. Since 1955, Sakurajima has dumped enough ash to build another mountain. But each time the dark cloud descends on Kagoshima, the city mobilizes to clean it up. 7 billion yen a year are spent cleaning up after eruptions. This process is frequently repeated, an existential nightmare that is endured with remarkable good humor. Cleaning off after an eruption can be an awful nuisance, but the effects of ash are more serious on the active island itself. The volcanic soil is so fertile that farmers once produced a wide variety of crops. Masaru Umimoto used to grow daikon radishes so large he could sling them over his shoulder. But because of the eruptions, he says, they now grow only half that size. These days, most crops are grown undercover from ash, which also causes problems in cemeteries. For people like the Ono family, repeated eruptions pose a dilemma.
Volcanic ash builds up on our flower offerings, so they die too quickly. That's the reason I'm building this roof to cover them.
But fading flowers and withering radishes are not the worst concerns of people living under the volcano. Travelers on the highway that encircles the volcano are warned of the risk from mudslides by a command station that monitors a network of concrete canals. They channel the monstrous mud flows that can roar down the mountain after a heavy rain bearing boulders the size of cars. The aftermath is washed out bridges, buried homes, and sometimes buried lives. The burden of warning what Sakurajima will do and when lies on the staff of its volcano observatory.
If you're a weather forecaster and you predict it will rain tomorrow, if you're incorrect, the damage suffered will be insignificant. But if you're expected to forecast the eruption of a volcano and you're incorrect, the damage will be much, much greater.
Dr. Kasuke Kamo loves the challenge of Sakurajima. The Japanese government considers Sakurajima a living workshop, and Dr. Kamo is the beneficiary of the best technology money can buy. Kamo has confidence in his ability to predict what his mountain will do 4 to 10 days before it happens. Excellent prediction accuracy for a volcanologist, but not for the Department of Civil Defense. So there are round-the-clock staff on alert for an explosive eruption. As long as Sakurajima continually releases energy through minor eruptions, the likelihood of a major disaster is small. But emergency plans are based on the results of the 1914 eruption. Once a year, people on the volcano are drilled in evacuation. In an emergency, the familiar ferry boats double as life rafts at 25 special docks. Firefighters are equipped with unique tools, like heat-resistant trucks to confront burning lava flows. But all the planning in the world can't protect people from Sakurajima's most unpredictable threat, the enormous boulders that are sometimes hurled from the volcano. In 1986, a huge rock crashed through a shoreline hotel, injuring 5 people. The most frequent target of fiery rocks is the village of Arimura, home to refugees of the 1914 eruption. Boulders have crashed through roofs here. The Takanashitas escaped the volcano's wrath a second time when a burning rock crashed through their ceiling.
Even when I'm at home and sleeping, I keep thinking of what to do if a big rock strikes here. We cannot feel easy about it.
If warned in time, the brother and sister can flee their home to the shelter provided. But the hotel incident created enough uproar that the government wants people out of the village for good. A new apartment complex was built further from the flying boulders, on top of the lava flow from 1914. These buildings have special features to help residents cope with ash. Yoshiaki Tokudome can wash his stairs with ease. He just rinses the ash down specially designed gutters. Inside the house, his wife hangs her laundry in a special room, out of reach from a filthy sky. But most new inhabitants of this ash-proof housing are from Kagoshima City, across the bay, lured by the low rent. They've watched the volcano, but never felt its wrath.
So far, nothing like a lava flow has happened here.
People tell me that rocks fly, but I've never actually seen a single rock fly.
We believe what the scientists say, and even if an eruption happens, the ocean is very close, and we can escape.
So, on weekday mornings, the family watches the ash report on the morning news. Then the children don their hard hats for the long walk under the volcano. The mothers who cheerfully see their children off may trust the authorities to warn them of any danger. But Sakurajima's leading authority wishes no one lived on the volcano at all.
The residents want us to predict eruptions, to keep them notified and safe without changing their lifestyles. That's a fairly big burden on our shoulders. I think there's a gap between what we can predict and what the people expect us to predict. I know most of the people on this volcano, and what I try to tell them is that basically they're living in a very dangerous place.
But for Sakurajimans, from an early age, living with a volcano becomes a part of daily life. It's normal to play on schoolyards made of ash, to swim in ash-proofed pools, and to have a library devoted to the workings of a volcano. Sakurajima becomes a source of pride instead of fear, celebrated in the school song. The fire of hope in our hearts, the children sing. We look to our island for prosperity. And the volcano provides. There are jobs to cut the volcanic stone and polish it down into cookware for a local cuisine. Ash is stirred into a special glaze that adorns the island's famous pottery, fired into beauty. The volcano inspires other art. So when you ask Sakurajimans why they live with the danger, the answer is always the same.
The place I was born is the best.
Our generation shall live and die here.
This sense of ancestry, of a continuum of life on the volcano, even affects those who try to understand the forces that drive its constant eruptions.
This mountain has been active for well over 10,000 years. But the active period of a man's life is only 40 to 50 years. If you spent all that time studying, you'd still be looking at a moment in a volcano's life. When I think about that, I have to ask myself, what am I doing here? But human society has always made progress through time, based on the efforts of everyone. You do your best during your lifetime to contribute to the knowledge of mankind. Then hand down what you've learned to the next generation. So it is with the research and study of volcanoes.
Generations from now, scientists may predict precisely when volcanoes will become violent. But at present, those who grow up on Sakurajima are at risk from the violence that lurks at the heart of their beloved home.